This creepy backrooms found footage begins at an ancient stone tomb-like structure on a murky mound. Published by Rain G, this footage is dated October 21st, 1993. The player arrives at the door and somehow falls into the back rooms, an endless series of doorways and hallways that all look the same. In the first room, there is a figure just around the corner, but the player doesn't seem to see it. He hears a distinct click down the next hallway that leads to a brightly lit doorway.
Hey.
Upon entering, he sees the figure and approaches it. It seems to be wearing a gas mask and protective gear. Is it even still alive? The player sees another figure pass. He is dressed much the same as the first, and then he sees another. I feel that these figures are the creepiest part about this particular found footage because they seem human, but are they friend or foe? This one is definitely the latter. After being backed out of the hallways, the player finds himself in this mysterious tunnel. It leads to this. What is this giant man monster? He runs off before finding out and winds up back in the rat maze, one that he'd sooner rather leave. This is one of the original Backrooms videos, and in my opinion is what launched the popularity of Backrooms. Many in the comments marvel at how realistic it looks and sounds, with X Lil Poppy X12 writing literally frame by frame if you pause. There's not one part that isn't scary or strange. I agree. Let's take a look at this masterpiece. Published by Kane Pixels in January of 2022, this found footage is dated September 23rd, 1996. A student film is being made. As the cameraman backs up for a wide shot, he falls into the back rooms. The lights, the yellow walls, the maze-like atmosphere is instantly disconcerting. The cameraman doesn't know where he is. Wandering through, he sees through a crack in the wall that this liminal space is endless. After climbing up a ladder and crawling through a crawl space, he comes upon more of the same, but then he arrives at some arrows. Where will they lead? To this face drawn on a wall. It tells him to stay still, but he shouldn't listen. Fleeing from the roaring monster that is given chase, he seems to be gaining ground. As the roaring becomes more distant, but he turns to find the monster isn't far behind. He arrives at a room with a hole in the ground. His choices are to face off with the monster or jump into the unknown. He chooses the latter. After diving in, he arrives at a staircase. It leads him to this window, revealing that this space has countless rooms. He starts to hear a heavy breathing sound like something from an enormous beast. The breathing ends and all he can hear is his footsteps. Exiting through a warehouse door, he arrives back in the yellow halls, and he soon finds himself another monster's prey. The mechanical monster follows, wailing and moaning. Led to another shoot dead end. The player has another choice to make, but before he does, falling through space and time and back to Earth. I wonder if the player survived. As some note in the comments, it looked like he was grabbed, not pushed. Did he live? Perhaps only his camera did. This video is not about what you see, but rather about what you don't. Published by Molten Studios in March of 2022, the player plops into the maze and starts his journey through the back rooms. Everything looks the same, so you can easily get lost here. After traveling without incident for a while, this crazy creature comes at him. You can't really see too distinctly what this monster is. It is tall like Gumby. and its movements are disconcertingly rapid. Racing through the maze, the player turns around and sees the Gumby-like creature out of the corner of his eye. The video ends with this monster hiding just around a corner. The art of this particular video lies in the short glimpses of the silent fear at hand. A sense of urgency heads off the beginning of this backroom found footage, published by TV Orange Man in March of 2022. The player is running, and soon you'll see why. This spider is a little different than others we've seen. It's an albino spider for one thing, and it won't let up. After losing the live spider, the player comes across another, but this one isn't a threat. And then, something we've never seen in the backrooms before, another person. The man who walks in is wearing a Union Jack cap, an orange full-face balaclava, and sunglasses. The man walks or struts toward the spider and starts collecting something off of it. Whatever he's collecting is apparently valuable, but it's unclear what that is. A close-up of the creature shows some sort of growth protruding from its skin that seems itself alive. The man warns the player not to touch and explains that they're wormlings, and they have an ecosystem in the back rooms. Probably one of the creepiest things we've yet to see come to life back here.
Hey, don't touch them! If it bites a human, you'll forget your own name.
Wait, really? What are those things?
Wormlings. Little buggers have a full ecosystem down here.
But like many in the comments, I definitely keep close to the Orange Man, especially with that walk. While some in the comments find the pool area of this video the most terrifying. The lost sense of time is what's giving me nightmares. Published by Frag2, this found footage is dated March 21st, 1996. We enter a back room with geometric pattern carpet. There's nothing at all until the player sees this office chair at the end of the hallway. It launches toward him like the place is haunted. The player then arrives at this dark enclave. If you look closely, there's a vague shadow in the darkness, and when he flicks on his flashlight, we see to what that shadow belongs. After the moth takes flight, the player clips to another hallway and arrives at a lifeless extraterrestrial. You can hear the flies buzzing around it. He seems to have found the ID of the individual, but the man's identity is unclear. Some say the date of birth reads 2047, while another date below reads 2074. Does this imply that the back rooms exist outside of time? Later, we hear screaming from floors below. Are we hearing the live version of that thing's fate? Finally, we arrive in the pool rooms, which spiral downwards deep into the unknown. And as it turns out, I don't want to know what's down there. This Backrooms found footage is brief, but what it lacks in length is made up for by its terrifying creature. Published by EFU in March of 2022, this short clip of found footage seeks where all these entities are hiding. After rounding a corner, the player sees an entity disappear into the ceiling tile above. It then pounds on the roof, and as the player looks around, a large hand reaches down from the ceiling. Is that the end of our dear player? Only this alien demon knows. What makes this Backrooms found footage special is that it uses the environment more than anything to creep you out. Published by Milhail Rischi in March of 2022, the player lands in the backrooms, which look like a car park or a warehouse. Darkness falls and he turns a corner to see the Smiler. The Smiler chases him until the player exits into this eerie hallway. After wandering through, one darkened hallway rushes to close in on him. pushed out of the way, he continues and opens the door to the upside down world, after which he crashes through the floor. He appears to be beneath the floorboards, which I feel is the scariest part of the video. Especially when he arrives at this red glow and the shadow figures surround him. He races out of there, but something follows. He is walking a narrow wooden beam and he doesn't have the balance. Back in the pool room, he wipes away the water from his camera. He may have escaped the shadow figures, but will he escape whatever is in the water? Who knows what might happen in the liminal space of the back rooms? Another entity gives chase in this Scary Backrooms Found Footage, published by Dinnerbone777. The video kicks off in a high contrast white room. Player exits through a door and is falling alongside pieces of paper. Landing in the back rooms, he searches the hallways and suddenly is hit by a blast. When he clips back in, he runs to hide, and we see what possibly hit him. The form of this entity isn't like any other, but it's bat-like in movement. After it flies past, the player enters through an air shaft in the wall, and after crawling through, sees this small black item on the ground. It kind of looks like a toy car. In a moment, it is snatched by the entity, which close up looks like a cape with nobody wearing it. I feel like this video is especially creepy because the monster is unlike anything we've yet seen and unlike any known form to man. Thank you so much for getting me to 10,000 subscribers here on my Clips channel. If you want to support, please press that subscribe button. Let's get to 20,000 subscribers next. Thank you.